This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. What a week it has been. Completely exhausted and so glad that it's Friday. If you haven't noticed, a lot of distractions were happening this week, and I'm not really sure if it was to distract away from Prince Andrew and his whole scandal, or is there something else going on with the dastardly duo? I think it's a little bit of both. One would think Prince Andrew would be all over the tabloids this week, considering Virginia had dropped her book, but not a peep. Or even so, on the cover of these tabloid magazines, I'm pretty sure that there are other celebrity scandals that have popped off, like Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau. Why are they not on the cover of these tabloid magazines? Instead, we have Harry and Meghan on almost every single one globally, from Star Magazine here in the United States, Heat Magazine in the UK. We also have Closer Magazine. They're also on the cover. Other magazines featured in Australia. It's almost as if whenever there is a scandal that hits the royal family, Harry and Meghan are the scapegoat to distract everybody. I'm starting to think that there's a real good possibility that these are paid for. There's absolutely no way that week after week we're seeing these stories on the cover of these magazines and Harry and Meghan refuse to sue. Once in a while, seeing these fake stories, I can understand them not bothering with it. But if this is occurring almost on a weekly basis, there has to be some approval somewhere. And it's not like this is a shock to anyone. We do know that Star Magazine is Meghan's preferred go-to tabloid magazine to give stories about herself. And in this situation, it's no different. So we're going to go through some of this mind-numbing, dumbing down information to see how Meghan and the people behind Meghan are positioning themselves now to figure out a way out of this. The jig is up, and they're trying to figure a way to get Harry back to the UK while Meghan goes off and does her own thing, which is how this article is being shaped. So let's now get into it. I feel like this headline has been recycled a few times already with this couple, but it's make or break time. The US article begins. There was Prince Harry, barefoot and smiling in sweatpants as he peered at wife Meghan's wardrobe amid an October trip to New York City. The Duchess of Sussex included that private moment and more in an October 13th video montage recapping their trip to the Big Apple that kicked off on October 9th as they were named Humanitarians of the Year at Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Gala. They were thrilled to be recognized and honored by their charitable peers. A source tells Star, Meghan. They always find it a real boost whenever there's an opportunity to take a bow for the work they do. Meghan's Instagram posts also showed the pair presenting mental health panels on behalf of their Archewell Fugazi public charity October 10th, as well as glimpses from the week's off-duty outings, which included meals at Soho House, where they spent time with musician Ed Sheeran and tennis legend Serena Williams. Until next time, NYC. Thanks for the memories. You really know how to charm a gal, Meghan captioned her recap. But has the charm worked on her marriage? This trip represented a great opportunity to mix business with pleasure and enjoy a romantic few days away without the kids, says the source. Archie 6 and little Betty 4 stayed behind at the couple's, yes, we know, $14.6 million house in Montecito, California. Behind the scenes, however, more was riding on the getaway. It was also seen by some as a make-or-break week in a lot of ways, adds the source. Indeed, nearly 6 years after Harry, 41, and Meghan, 44, stunned the world by leaving royal life to forge a new future in California, there's growing speculation they may be quietly assessing what life looks like apart, even as they publicly put on a united front. Says the source, their appearance just fueled the rumor mill and made people even more convinced than ever that there's trouble in paradise. Now, from what I understand, and hearing what people are saying online, that this is very similar to what Diana and Charles used to do, right before they announced their separation and then ultimately ended up divorcing. Now, what we're seeing here, it's pretty obvious that with approval, this is the new controlled narrative that they're going to be using, and they want us to be talking about it. I think a main reason why I was attacked this week is because I haven't been sticking to talking about this garbage. But I'm talking about it today, maybe not in the way that they want me to, but you can see how they manipulate and weaponize the media in order to fool the masses. And here we are. So Megan's team or whoever is behind this article is going to make it sound like Megan was this huge success and all the things that she has done this year, propping up all the awards that they had bought in order to put her out there as this strong, independent, powerful entrepreneur and could leave Harry if she wanted to. Just listen to how this tone is set. Megan's had a big year. Okay. She launched 2 seasons of her Netflix entertaining series, With Love, Megan, as well as 1 season of a business podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, which on October 15th won a Signal Award in the Business People and Entrepreneurs Shaping Culture category. She also debuted her As Ever Whatever product line of wine, fruit spreads, teas, cookies, honey, crepe mix, and flour sprinkles in partnership with the streamer, which inked a new first-look deal with the Sussexes this summer when their previous 5-year contract worth a reported $100 million expired. So you see how they are shifting the narrative to make Megan sound like she is this girl boss and she is so successful, even though we know and have watched how silly and stupid this whole thing has been. Now, the Duchess appears to be preparing to launch what one UK outlet calls Megan 3.0. In May, she teased that she hoped to explore the fashion category at a later date, calling it an interesting space for me. That news came after she made headlines in March for imitating social media influencers by launching a Shop My page where followers could purchase items from a curated collection of style and beauty pieces she recommended, with the former Suits actress earning a small affiliate fee. Further bolstering her fashion cred, Megan made a surprise October 4th solo trip to Paris Fashion Week where she supported newly installed Balenciaga designer Pierpaolo Piccioli and lunched with new American Vogue editor Chloe Mao. On October 14th, the Duchess made another solo trip, this time to Washington, D.C. to speak at Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit. Megan is all about promoting her brands right now, says the source. Her mission is to be a female business powerhouse, and nothing's going to get in the way of that, even if it means spending increasing amounts of time away from her husband. You notice they didn't call him Harry? You know that Meghan has her fingerprints all over this article. She wants to be seen as someone who is independent of Prince Harry because of who he's attached to, which is the royal family. And she knows very well that her success is a result of marrying this stupid prince. Anyhow, for the last year, Harry's been leaning into his own philanthropic initiatives, frequently traveling outside the States to highlight his work with the Invictus Games, children's charities, and other causes close to his heart. During downtime, he'll hang with his surf buddies or enjoy a game of polo, adds the source. Meghan hasn't been tagging along, which has resulted in them being apart more and more. Now, this next part raises a huge red flag for me. See if you can understand why. It says, fueling tensions are Harry's efforts to reconcile with his family. One UK outlet described a secret establishment plot, allegedly dubbed Project Thaw, backed by some senior UK politicians and courtiers who want to help warm up the Sussexes' frosty relationship with the royals since the pair left Britain in 2020 and publicly slammed Harry's family. Like, I want to know what senior UK politicians were involved here and why. This is a family dispute. Should have nothing to do with the UK government. Unless everything I've been telling you has been right this whole entire time. Like, we're really supposed to believe that the excuse they gave for Megxit was really why they were coming over here in 2020? Come on, guys, connect the dots. Draw your own conclusions. Use your common sense instead of trusting everything that the mainstream media has been telling us. We all know that they lied. Now, going back to this Project Thaw, the report claims Meghan's trip to Paris, her first public visit to Europe since she attended the Invictus Games in Dusseldorf, Germany, more than 2 years ago, as well as Harry's recent visits to Ukraine, were part of the thaw process and will allegedly be followed up by a trip to England in the not-so-distant future. Yeah, I already told you what I thought was going to happen a couple months ago, and it seems like they've started to plant those little seeds of, this might be King Charles's last Christmas. His health is failing. Oh, King Charles extends an olive branch to the Sussexes to spend one last Christmas, or the king's dying wish to see his grandchildren that he never knew. And then we'll start seeing headlines with Meghan being the selfless woman, despite the royal family treating her so badly with no apology, is going to suck it up and go to the UK so her kids can get to know their grandfather. And just as I predicted on October 7th, they started dropping these little propaganda pieces about Harry securing an invite for Christmas at Sandringham. Now, haven't I told everyone that this was what we were going to start to see and how this was all going to play out? For those that need their memory refreshed and thought that what I was telling you was pure nonsense, let me remind everybody that back in July, this is what I said. What do I think is coming next? Well, as I said before, expect more pieces painting Harry as troubled but trying to redeem himself and extend all these olive branches. Expect more reports of secret meetings with Charles's staff and maybe even potentially setting up for holidays with the family and bringing little Betty and Archie over. Yep. We'll just have to see how it plays out, but so far, don't say I didn't tell you. But now continuing on, as with Star Magazine, we always find these little seeds that end up being planted. It continues. The plan allegedly calls for building on the success of Harry's well-received September visit to Britain, where he did charity work and continued to burnish his reputation as a royal committed to a life of service and, for the first time in more than 18 months, met face-to-face with cancer-stricken King Charles III, 76, in what's seen as a first step toward rebuilding their strained relationship. His connection to brother, Prince William, 43, the source confirms will be far harder, if not impossible, to repair. And I do believe that. I think William, out of the whole lot, is really disgusted by what not only Harry and Meghan have done, but also what King Charles has allowed to go on. You see, the thing that's bothered me so much about King Charles is that he allowed this D-list actress to run amok and cause so much chaos and damage for the institution, but also personally onto Prince William, Catherine, and their children. And that never really sat well with me, because here is this woman who has been a threat to the physical safety of the next in line direct heirs to the throne. To me, I find it mind-boggling that no one could put this woman in her place. Anyway, Harry's made no secret of the fact he's desperate to build on the positive momentum with his father, says the source. He's been working feverishly behind the scenes to try to strike compromises and arrange another visit. Oh, joy. Meghan, who hasn't set foot in England since Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in 2022, is said to be skeptical of any thaw. While she supports Harry making peace with his father, says the source, she thinks Harry's being naive and that there's no way on earth the royals will ever treat them with the respect they deserve. What worries Meghan is that this will ultimately ruin the life they've worked so hard to build in America. Like, nobody is envious of the superficial empty life that they have built in that Olive Garden mansion that they bought. Like, no family, no friends, always scheming, on to the next deal, never with their children. Okay, Meghan, keep telling yourself that in the mirror if it makes you feel good. But amid the ups and downs of the last year, Meghan has faced criticism for positioning Harry as a supporting character in her own narrative, just as she slipped a few seconds of H as she calls him into her New York City promotional video, she gave her husband a brief walk on in the final 4 minutes of the season 1 finale of With Love, Meghan, a royal cameo that to some felt more curated than collaborative. She's also been using social media to show off her glam sessions and swanky wardrobe and sparked backlash after posting a clip of herself being driven through Paris at night, reportedly near the tunnel where Harry's mother, Princess Diana, was killed in 1997. Harry made a point to say Meghan was treated unfairly and that it was twisted of people to insinuate she was in some way disrespecting his mother with that video. Says the source. Still, it was something he could well have done without. His attitude has shifted in the 9 years since they first met and fell in love. He and Meghan may be hot for each other. Ugh, gross. As one insider told Vanity Fair earlier this year, but Harry's come to realize he and Meghan are very different people, says the source. That's not something he's using to denigrate or criticize Meghan. It's just a lot harder these days, and he's noticing it more. Meghan is hustling as 2025 winds down. In October, As Ever announced its third wine offering, a 2024 vintage Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, and in November, her Netflix Christmas entertaining special debuts, which is ironic since the source says some friends worry the couple may not last until the holidays. The consensus right now is Harry and Meghan have a lot of work to do if they're going to iron out this tension and get on the same page, says the source. If they can't figure things out, the fear is they'll just drift further apart and eventually could split. Quelle surprise. I don't think you need me to tell you that this article was all Meghan. Everything in it was to promote Meghan, her being the successful entrepreneur and how busy and hectic her schedule is. And, the fear of Harry going back to the UK as she has her empire that she's building here. I mean, the whole thing's so ridiculous. And it's such a joke. If Meghan Markle in a couple days, apparently she's launching something else for this As Ever whatever brand, who knows, people think it's makeup. You see how not serious any of this is? Meghan probably got a lump of cash to just be throwing at this bullshit crap to keep people distracted while they figure out how to wind this so-called mission that Harry's been on down. And as I've said from the very beginning, this was never about, Harry and Meghan trying to forge their new life in America because they were so trapped by the institution because they were so racist. No, you guys see the progression. And right now, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Harry is making a desperate plea to get that IPP back because not only does he want the immunity, but he also wants access to the intelligence, the same intelligence that Andrew used to try and track down everything about Virginia Giuffre. Who knows what he did with that information? She's now dead, right? Not implying anything, I'm just saying. As we have seen how Harry and Meghan their fans have threatened so many people, all of us talking about the things that we don't believe is killing Meghan's narrative, and she hates that. She absolutely hates that she can't get off the ground because everybody continues to keep calling her out for the lies that she has told that has harmed so many people. And we're not going to let it go, Meghan. No, but even more troubling is the threat that they pose to the Waleses, should they get their IPP status back and have access to the intelligence to know where the Waleses are. That's the other concern here. You don't want to give this kind of power to people who are extremely dangerous and how they will abuse using that intelligence. You can't trust them with that. Even though at the time everybody thought it was a joke, Meghan was not joking when she said, allegedly, one plane crash away from the throne. This woman is troubled and she is dangerous. But moving on to the other exclusive in Heat magazine across the pond now in the UK, Meghan could walk away from it all. As the Sussexes lock horns over returning to the UK, insiders reveal the palace is putting together a contingency plan in place. Sure, they're going to do everything they can to keep this woman far away. I mean, look at this photo that they chose. She looks absolutely mental. So now this article says they married in a fairy tale wedding 7 years ago, but as Prince Harry takes more steps to reunite with his estranged family, wife Meghan Markle is said to be less than thrilled by the prospect of re entering the regal fold. Well, Meghan, I don't think you're going to have a problem not entering it back again, because if Harry goes back, you're not going with him. As Heat has previously reported, the Duchess of Sussex is worried Harry is being pulled back into old patterns of manipulation by his family and is extremely upset about potentially moving back to the UK. Well, nobody wants you back, Meghan. While there is no suggestion that Harry 41 and Meghan 44 are planning to separate, her resistance to the situation is making the royal household nervous, and sources now tell Heat that a divorce plan has been created in case they decide to part ways. Well, I bet that divorce plan has already been in place for a couple of years now. The palace is quietly drawing up contingency plans in the event of a split, says a royal insider. Hold up, these two are no longer working for the firm, so why is the palace putting together plans? Again, this is what I said earlier. They're going to pretend as if Harry never left the firm because they're going to condition the public to think that Harry never left the institution. Ultimately, that's what Harry and Meghan want the world to believe now, that they didn't just pick up in 2020 and said, no, we want to go off and make our own money and become independent. But now you're seeing this type of language of the royal household and courtiers and the palace working behind the scenes. No, stop it. They're going to try and now make us feel crazy for saying, well, hold up, you left. And they're going to come back and say, no, we never left. Harry's like, I still have a sense of duty. This is my birthright bullshit. The thought is that Harry might push for a return to the UK, but Meghan won't want to come back from the US, and that the schism is potentially dangerous. Huh? We're told courtiers are said to be considering a golden handshake settlement, which would be more generous than might be assumed, but heavily structured. Our insider says it would include a strict gagging order designed to prevent further exposés of private life. It's like with Princess Diana all over again. Only, this time the language will be tighter and the penalties for breaking it heavier. The agreement would also grant Meghan the continued use of her Duchess of Sussex title. The palace sees it as a face-saving measure because tearing it away from her could spark a media war. And this, my friends, I believe, has Meghan's sticky fingers all over it. Meghan is desperately trying to hold on to those titles because she knows when Prince William takes over the reins, it's over for her. So what do you think this is about? This is about putting her demands out there. She's willing to take a lump sum of money to say, you know what? I won't talk about you guys ever again. Just set me up for life. Let me keep my titles. I'm going to also request security and IPP status so nobody can touch me. And what you're going to notice is that they're going to be talking a lot more about these two invisible children because Meghan sees those as her cash cows. So what do you think's going to come with this package to get her to just magically walk away? It's going to be an arm and a leg. Of course, it's not just the Sussex's marriage that the palace has to think about. Oh no! As the couple are also parents to son Archie, 6, and 4-year-old daughter, little Betty. And as Heat has told you, the couple have been butting heads when it comes to schooling their children, as Meghan wants to remain in California, whereas Harry has reportedly told pals he wants to move back to the UK. During a trip home in September, the Duke apparently said he wanted the very best education for his children and felt like they were missing out on the same experiences as their cousins, George, 12, Charlotte, 10, and Louis, 7. No, what Harry wants is not having to deal with them. He wants to send them off to boarding school and then see them for like the fun times. Meghan wants to do the same, but more than likely will have their children homeschooled so nobody ever sees them. For those that don't believe that they exist, then this would be a perfect way for Meghan to conceal that. And as the years go on with Meghan grifting off the backs of the royal family for the children, by the time that they reach 18 or have to go off to college, Meghan can easily just whip up two AI generated beings. And I would think by that time, AI will be so advanced that people wouldn't even know if it was real or not. So I think we're never going to find out the real truth about who these supposed invisible people are in the line of succession. Singer Joss Stone, who recently moved back to the UK from Nashville with her young family, added more fuel to the fire by divulging that the prince had spoken to her about how wonderful the schools were in Britain when they both attended the Well Child Awards. It was nice to share that with him because it's exactly why we felt drawn to come back, for the kids to grow up surrounded by family, friends, and a strong sense of belonging, and most importantly, in a safe environment, she said. But an insider told Heat at the time, Meghan is shocked that he's even talking about this when there are still so many obstacles ahead. It's upsetting to think he may have been making promises about her and the kids coming back to UK without running it by her first or considering the fallout. And perhaps wary of Harry's parents' own acrimonious divorce, our source says that should the worst come to the worst, the palace wants to confirm that the future of Archie and little Betty would be pre-mapped in meticulous detail. We're told schooling, where they live, custody, and travel permissions would all be agreed until the age of 18. It's about controlling the narrative and protecting the monarchy. They don't want a messy tug of war over the children splashed across every newspaper. Harry wants to root the kids in Britain, but he can't until he's assured of their protection. Here we go. They need security. On the palace's side, aides are keenly aware this legal push could shift public sympathy. Nope, it ain't going to shift nothing. If he is painted as being blocked from returning home by the establishment, that narrative becomes a powerful weapon. You see the manipulation here? No, it's not going to work, Meghan. It's not the first time the notion of a divorce plan has surfaced. Earlier this year, a damning article in Vanity Fair addressed rumors that Meghan's team had been shopping around for a post-divorce book deal. The bombshell allegation was quickly denied by a source close to the Duchess, and Harry was also quick to shut down speculation about a split. After watchers noticed the couple weren't showing up to work engagements together, there were suggestions they were undergoing a professional separation. But speaking in New York last December, while Meghan was on the other side of the country in their Montecito home, Harry laughed. We've apparently divorced maybe 10, 12 times. So it's just like, what? It's hard to keep up with, but that's why you just ignore it. Despite their insistence of marital bliss, Harry and Meghan are still locking horns about returning to the UK. Harry has taken the first steps in making amends with his family, meeting with King Charles for tea at Clarence House in September, their first face-to-face contact in 19 months. It came after the prince revealed that his father was no longer speaking to him. He also admitted that he misses the UK and he would love a reconciliation. For now, we're told Meghan is happy in California and has been focusing on building her lifestyle brand as ever, whatever. Speaking at Fortune magazine's Most Powerful Women event last week, Meghan outlined her plans to leverage her significant influence to build a successful, long-lasting business empire. So while no one can be certain what the future holds, it's no wonder that palace officials are doing all they can to safeguard the monarchy and bring Harry home. Whatever happens, the monarchy has to be ready. Meghan must not be met with open hostility. This is about containment, the insider says. The narrative must favor Harry's return and Meghan's choices. This is low-key planning, but it is happening. The palace sees a worst-case scenario and wants to be prepared. They believe Meghan can walk away, but they also believe Harry can come back. And they want to plan for both eventualities. Yeah, I think we're coming to the end. What we're seeing here is Meghan in overdrive, especially with all these various events in New York and getting photographed everywhere. I think Meghan is desperately trying to get her next gig together so this can eventually be done with. But it's not working. And, people are not taking to what she's selling. I don't know what the answer is for this woman. She just doesn't get that the world sees through her and what she's about. And we're not going to forget the things that they have done. You can't just use the last 6 years putting people, in jeopardy, like the royal family, just for your selfish personal agenda. Whatever mission you are on, Harry, you need to get out of the United States and leave, because Americans do not appreciate you being here, meddling in our politics, as well as interfering with legislation and policies that are going to affect each and every one of us. So, Meghan, this crazy that you're showing all of us, we know what you're up to. The jig is up. And I think it's time to just call it quits, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.